Hello, and in this episode, we're going to talk about some toys we grew up with that deserve a second shot.
I would buy them again.
We'll get into that. Hit the tape. Toys that deserve a second shot from our childhood. We lived through the golden age of toys.
Absolutely.
So many chances were taken. Toy lines were abandoned.
Quickly. In
Very
some
quickly,
cases.
yes. Unless you had a cartoon, a toy line, possibly a mini series of a comic book,
Yep.
you ain't going nowhere.
Well, I think a lot of time was spent trying to recapture that G.I. Joe Lightning. Because that was a three-pronged attack.
Yes. Same with Transformers.
Same with Transformers,
which was very
they
successful.
exactly, and they used that template repeatedly.
Yes.
With a comic cartoon toy line, you know, and it worked well for several toy merchandise or
Yes.
toy lines.
So a lot of smaller companies stepped up to the plate and thought, we need this pronged attack too, and it destroyed them.
Yep.
If it didn't turn a revenue quickly, they just dropped it. And there were a lot of great lines like that.
Yes, there was. Which we've done, Forgotten Toys of the 80s. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen it, you should check it out. But we're going to revisit some of these with a new concept of today's
Yeah.
molds, processes, that type of thing. And, I mean, I got one that jumps right to my mind immediately.
Go
And
for
we've
it.
talked about it. I know it's one of your favorites. It was one of mine. They were very pricey even in the 80s, and that was Centurions.
Yeah.
The concept was awesome. There was 3 individuals. Each one of them was air, land, and sea.
Yes.
And they had all of these stackable pieces that went
It was
on
very
the figures.
modular.
Very modular. And if this isn't a toy line that screams for a reboot,
Picture this. You had the Centurions. You blind pack stuff that can clip on them.
absolutely.
Boom, you got a collecting sensation
Yep.
there.
I mean, like the minifigs, the blind pack minifigs, and some of the other, you know,
And
that
some
are
of
out there.
those are great. There are certain figures I'll never own again, but I see them in this minifigure thing. I'm like, that looks cool. I'm happy enough
Yeah, that
owning
somebody's doing it. You know what I mean? But Centurions screams this.
Yes.
The thing they were relatively articulated at the time, with the articulation levels that are now out with some of these figures. The concept of almost an 8-inch figure or
Yes.
whatever it was being that articulated,
Very chunky.
very chunky. I would like to keep the scale the same personally.
Oh, yeah.
I would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
see that, you know, and see a relaunch of those, especially with some of the new stuff. You know, can you imagine some of the fighter jet types for Ace McCloud
Oh, yeah.
or
You
know,
know, modern interpretation.
yeah,
of a lot of
exactly.
the
I
things.
think it would have been just the coolest thing, and it's like I said, it screams for a rebirth. You know, it really does.
It
In
does.
my opinion.
It does. But the one thing that's sad about the rebirth process, and this will lead me to, of course, one of the biggest toys to me in the 80s was the Sectors.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Now, someone right now is trying to bring it back, but it's a little bit different. Mind you, they were pricey when they came out because Coleco was taking a gamble. I mean, they were successful with the Cabbage Patch doll.
And a lot of that Cabbage Patch money went into Sectars.
It did. It did. But nowadays you're looking at like, hey, pre-order of this, it's a $30 figure.
Or the Kickstarter campaign stuff and whatever.
Right. And it's like, you're not exposing it to children right off the bat. You sold yourself to the niche, the
Market.
nostalgic dork market. Why don't you make it a little bit cheaper? Not as super sculpted. Oh my God, look at the eyes and antenna on it. That makes it accessible to everybody.
Agreed. The problem that you have is getting, so let's be honest, right? We got lucky. Cartoons aired every day. on one of your local stations. For
And
the most
yes,
part.
they were advertisements, and yes, they worked, but they were entertaining on top of that.
Agreed. But that's the problem. You're going to need to get Cartoon Network, Disney, or Nickelodeon
Yeah.
to
Syndication doesn't truly exist at all
no.
anymore.
But you would need one of those 3 channels to pick up that cartoon
yes.
to get that as a marketable,
Yeah.
toy line for all ages. I am not as against it as you are. I'm rather greedy in this respect that if somebody did a really nice Sectar toy that was articulated really well, like joints in the arms this time, I would buy it freely. I freely admit I would
Yeah,
buy it.
and it does look pretty, but it's just I personally can't justify it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I understand where you're coming from. I'm saying any shot at a second run of some of these toys that we're going to mention tonight
Yeah.
would be really cool. You know what I mean? And also, truthfully and honestly, if they did a Sectar set again, it gives me a really good Christmas or birthday gift for you. Because you won't justify it for yourself, but I can justify it to give it to you as your birthday or Christmas gift.
Fair.
That's the way I look at it.
Fair enough. What's another?
But I mean, a Sectar set that would be. I would like to still stick with some of the stuff that
I mean,
they
the
had
thing
from
is,
the original
it
run.
was, and the thing is, it was innovative at the time.
Right.
With all the bandoliers, the guns went everywhere.
And I think things
the
like
insect puppets. I mean,
I think things like that shouldn't be left behind. All I'm asking
it
for.
should not be left behind. But you know what? Making it the way they made it, it has to be cheap nowadays. Keep it the same. Use the same molds. That's the thing. It was innovative enough.
I just want that arm to move.
Okay, throw some hinges in one
That's
of the
all I'm asking.
arms
That's-
and make
yeah,
it
yeah,
articulate.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
it was good enough the way it was, and you could sell it at a cheaper price.
Well, also, truthfully, don't spend a fair amount of your money on packaging. Sectar's had elaborate packaging.
It did.
It was a big box. It was not a short card. You know what I mean? They were a lot of money and attention was spent on the presentation
which
on the peg.
left less on the peg.
Right.
Because if you can only fit 3 there, but GI Joe you can put
But
12.
30 of them.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. No, and then you're right about that. That is true. For me, my next line, and I am completely 100% stingy on this one. I would love to see Mask come back.
Hell
Would love to see Mask come back.
Yes.
And I would like to see it come back in a 3 3/4 scale. That's
Now
me.
you're talking pricey vehicles, though.
I know, because I will also add a more expensive. I'd love to see them actually get some rights for some of the current vehicles to make it a little bit more cutting edge. If that's too expensive, if you're going to spend that, then go back to the 2.5 scale.
And the thing is, a cartoon, hell, a live action with that premise of Mask would sell.
Absolutely.
And you know
it would.
what? I noticed my son started playing with cars.
Sure. All kids, all boys do.
The ones that had the opening doors, he would open it and it's like, you're missing out.
100%.
Yes.
100%. I would love to see Max Tracker in a newer Matt Tracker. Thank you. In a newer sports car. Not the Trans Am that he drove in Mask. I would
Understood.
like to see a true Jeep Wrangler 4-door model with a boat. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's certain things that maybe a Ducati bike that turned into a helicopter. I'm just saying there's certain things that I think would make that a little bit more approachable to today's kid. I don't want to see just a blanket re-release of Mask. You know what I mean? I would love to see
It could be a multi-prong attack, and it should. I mean...
Or here's another thing, truthfully. Do what the G.I. Joe 25th anniversary did. Release them in a 3 3/4 scale with a couple accoutrement. And then, if I really like it that much, or my kid does, I can go out and buy the $30 vehicle. I can buy the $40 playset. I can buy the whatever. You know what I mean? A motorcycle that changes into a helicopter should be a $16 toy.
Why?
Truthfully. Without a figure.
Okay. But let's back up.
Sure.
To when Mask first appeared. I mean, why did it fail?
Because of its price point.
And
You
I don't
bought an
think...
action
I
figure
think...
and a vehicle. You had to buy two things. So unless,
But it's...
nobody had $35 to buy the Rhino.
No.
You know, nobody had $60 to buy Boulder Mountain or whatever the fuck it was
Right.
called.
Understood, but as far as the pronged attack goes,
Hmm.
it had a great comic by DC.
It did, absolutely.
But the cartoon, at
was
least in
a lower
our
production
area,
value. It was
it
compared to
wasn't
some
that
of
bad. I mean, it had a lot of the same Japanese animator
the.
look to it. I
The
mean,
problem is when we were kids, you held everything to a GI Joe standard. So
I'm- but
there's
I'm not even-
Sunbow
okay.
putting out the top-notch quality that they were doing, and that wasn't what Mask had, unfortunately. And that's what we all judged it by.
But I don't even remember really watching it. I think it was something that was syndicated like Sunday mornings, super early,
Okay.
and the toys, I love the toys, but I went back and was looking through. It's like I never had any of the big ones, but Matt Tracker.
Same.
It had multiple price points because my parents aren't going to spend that money, but they could get me the Condor, the little motorcycle.
Right. Yeah. But I think I had the Condor, I had Matt, and I had his son with the stupid robot
Yeah.
wheelie thing.
That too hurts when they try to shove that kind of stuff
Well,
down your throat.
you know.
I mean, G.I. Joe never really did that. There might be key episodes that did it, but it wasn't an overall.
Fair enough.
Right.
But I think that's a line that screams to be reimagined, especially with Hasbro having the rights to so many of these things that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
It could be easily done. I mean, they've wetted our whistle twice now. They've done it with the 25th anniversary Joes
Yes.
with Matt, and then yet again they did it with the collector's set that
Yes.
came out at San Diego this year.
And that's the Matt Tracker from the new story continuity.
So to me, you're priming us for this.
Yeah.
Okay, you go ahead and do it already.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about your price point, which I can't believe that they are, but if you're worried about your price point, do exactly what I said. Release your line of figures at 3 3/4, and then put your vehicles out there. So if you really want a vehicle
Yeah.
that bad, just saying that's a way to avoid charging $40 for one playset.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm getting at. But I think that would be awesome. I would buy it. Some of
Yeah.
them, at least.
Another line, also in the Hasbro camp, Inhumanoids, sorry.
And
mean-
for the love of God, can we make the figures better this time?
Yeah, not as bubbly. Armor was very bubbly. Their helmets
Perspective was stupid.
were... Yeah.
So as soon as you pop the helmet off, they all
head's
looked...
super-
yeah.
But the thing is, you look at the comics and stuff, and the cartoon somewhat, but they're mechs. They're like mech suits. We never really got that. It's not until I look at it later where it's like, oh, that's what
They were
that
powered
is.
armor, right.
They're wearing powered armor. But if you make them more streamlined and not like big bubbled shoulders and stuff.
But at the time, though, 80s, that worked. You didn't
Yes,
really...
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But now I would like to see something a little bit more form-fitting. Not
But
as
not-
over the top.
Not as over the top, but also not Power Rangered. Like what they did with the new movie. Everything's shiny, whatever, It can still look clunky. I mean, we see that in some...
Or streamline this character. Keep this character clunky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can have a happy medium. Not everything has to be Power Rangers. You know what I mean? Or
any slick reinvention crap.
you
that
could
they
just do some better molds. Maybe some different color schemes.
Hell, make it more
But more
steampunky too.
importantly, bring back the monsters.
The monsters were awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give me a monster that's this big, and if you charge me $40, okay, yet again, I got to justify it to the wife. I really want that. Christmas is coming, whatever.
Hell, you could do a slick, their younger versions. Hell opens up on Earth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. As long as they keep the monsters intact, I'm happy. They can do whatever
Yeah,
they
yeah,
want
right.
with the human characters. But I mean, that could be a serialized hit
Absolutely.
for Disney XD or
Absolutely.
even Nicktoons.
I agree. My next one is going to be completely self-serving. I would like to see someone really get a hold of this license, make a top product figure, and I don't mind spending $40 for it. I would love to see some reimagined D&D toys. I mean, working sheaths, cloth material, some nice D&D toys. Perspectives from the original ones. I want a smaller dwarf. I want a bigger giant. I want the same thing
They did that great. The
that they
scale
did
was
the
great.
scaling wise. I think that would be so awesome, and I mean this.
The only thing not awesome was they were the same price point. You know, you could get the Titan character, which is this tall, or the dwarf that's this tall, or the elf. The elf was done.
Demure, yeah.
Yes.
But
Now
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I would love to see somebody. I'm going to use McFarlane because he just jumps to your mind immediately. But I would love to see somebody like that get that license and do something really special with those D&D characters.
Now here's
Especially
where,
now that we're getting close to like
Right.
40 years, anniversary type.
Oh yeah,
you know what I
definitely.
mean?
But here's the thing: with McFarlane's approach to it, you're going to get contemporary D&D. Everything's more gritty, dark, stuff like that. But what I would like to see is a return to the whimsy. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean the cartoon. The cartoon has its moments.
No, but I'd like to see a reimagined War Duke. Not being
Oh,
because he was
yeah.
everywhere. You know what I mean?
Definitely,
You know?
definitely. I'd like to see that done in both styles. A reimagined cartoon version with bright colors, but I would love to see a contemporary dark gritty version of it as well.
Especially Demogorgon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And that was, I mean, as I wrote about D&D at that era, it shouldn't have worked, but it was everywhere. You had paint by number
Yeah.
pictures, erasers for
Yeah.
school, pencil sharpeners. Not just of nowhere near anything that was the cartoon that was running.
no.
They did nothing for that.
Well, and by the time they got around to do anything, it was too late.
Yes.
And that was the unfortunate side of that. But I would love to see, and I understand where you're coming from, but I would love to see even if it is current D&D, I would just like to see a really nice fantasy play set. The closest or fantasy set of toys, the closest we've gotten is the Lord of the Rings toys. They were nice toys, too.
Also, from
You know.
McFarlane, the Conan toys, the figures
Ooh, yeah,
that they
I forgot
did,
about that. I forgot about that, too. Yep.
they were beautiful.
But I would love to see something like that back.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Even with the Conan toys, they weren't very articulated. They were almost like miniature sculptures. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were
Fixed.
posed.
So that's the only reason I say what I say about D&D. I would love to spend the money to get something like that. With a real bow and arrow, a real quiver, the small stuff that we tend to
Yeah.
be more keyed in on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the one thing I did like about the Conan. The sheaths worked. It had chains coming off that attached things, and
Well, don't get me wrong, McFarlane always does a good job.
So
with the
yeah,
stories,
I would
you know?
really love to see that applied to D&D now. But yeah, I'm just saying there's a nostalgic side to that.
You could do a party. You could do a party.
yeah.
You do a barbarian, a wizard. You know what I mean? A bard,
Well,
whatever.
WizKids through Hasbro did those Shadowrun figures,
And they were nice.
and they were awesome. And they tried to make a game out of it where the base held dice,
Yep.
different
Accessories.
which had stats printed on them.
Yep. But they were short-lived.
They were short-lived and they were expensive.
As hell.
So, yeah, that wasn't something. That
And
you
not
could-
many places carried them.
No.
Even gaming stores didn't really carry them. You know what I
Right.
mean? They were pricey.
But in this day and age, something like that might work. For your higher end.
Well, that's what
You
I said.
know,
I'm fine with it being a more
gamers.
expensive,
Yeah.
toy. But yet again, give me my money's worth,
Oh, yeah.
And here's a great example. My son, okay, who is 15, I don't know who did it, but the Destiny toys that are out, there's a couple of them.
Oh, yeah. I think
okay?
those are McFarlane.
They could be. They very well could be. But they are freaking sweet. The action figures. You know what I mean? And he actually spent, which he's 15 and he's a football nut.
Right.
He spent $35 on the special edition one that was like this tall.
That's cool.
It's
That's cool. That gives me
that's
hope.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. It's some special character from the game. I don't play it, but anyway,
But I mean, that opens up. I mean, this kind of is off topic to a degree, but that opens up the whole gaming collector too, because he's more of the gaming
is-
side than the toy side.
it
But
is a market that, in my opinion, is relatively untapped because I think there's been some failures there, so they're kind of leery to get into that market. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's more easier to put my logo on a cheap ass wallet than it is to put out a top flight action figure. It's
True.
easier to put, Fallout 3 on a freaking sock hat than it is to print out.
it is. It
you know,
is.
that's I think there's some leeriness with gaming companies, which I think is hysterical because you got companies like EA and that are making 15, 16 billion a year, crap out a couple action figures. Just saying.
Yeah, but you also get that free advertising like 2K Sports. Who is that? That's
Yeah, 2K. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're doing wrestling. They
Yep.
don't need to make wrestling figures for it because they're already on the
out there.
shelf.
Well, but here's a great example. Borderlands was a great game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Great concept. They did next to nothing as far as merchandising. Okay, and here's the thing, Mason and I had to order special shirts just to get the Vault logo. It wasn't even like
Right.
you know what I mean. So the gamer
Mm-hmm.
kid, the gamer adult, who has the income, who would buy
True.
a
But I mean, the argument I'm bringing up just jumps right to the collector's edition of games, and then we'll move on.
yes, sorry.
But you get a Batman statue this big if you pay $300 for the game. It's like no sane person would do that. But you're at a point where you're like, well, yeah, but you don't even know if you're gonna like the game or not.
Yeah, now if you don't like a game, you can sue the company. So, sorry.
Yeah.
But back to toy lines that we would like to see reimagined. I would love to see Thundercats. And I know everyone who's watching this is going to say, well, they did. Nah, that's not what I'm talking about. I would like to see the same scale of Thundercat toys
yeah,
from
yeah.
LJN with a bit more articulation.
Definitely. More
Okay.
Articulation.
And because the sculpts on some of those toys was very nice. They really were.
Well, that's one of those lines where if you're willing to pay the money, you can get them. They have them out there. But I think the point of this is we want to go
We
into
want
a
on the pegs.
Walmart,
We want on the pegs.
right, and have a sense of
Minus
awe
that
again.
D&D set. I'd still pay money for that.
Yeah, yeah. But
No, I know what you're saying. I would
mean,
like to see.
I'm sure we've pointed this out before, but on the pegs right now are wrestling,
Star
DC
Wars.
now, Marvel, which Star Wars, Turtles. I mean, it's all known commodities. There's no chances. And what
No,
chances there are? They made Skull Island figures. They were some of the cheapest. They look like knockoffs when they weren't, which was sad.
They almost look like repaints from the Jurassic World set.
Some of them, yes.
You know what I mean? But that was kind of crappy in my opinion yet again. And even then, okay, you do a Skull Island set of toys. And if they did, please tell us I'm wrong. I never saw it. But you didn't even bother give me a Kong.
They did.
A big Kong?
But it's just hollow plastic.
No, I'm talking
Not
about...
like a super
Right, that's what I'm
articulated-
saying.
Yes. that
You know
would've
what I
been
mean?
awesome,
A
but
nice
They didn't.
24-inch Kong that, could... joints, you know what I mean, finger joint, whatever. You could have done that, and I'll tell you the thing, I would have probably bought that toy before I bought the other toys that I could have bought anywhere else. A fully articulated Kong.
Yes.
It's one of the major reasons I don't have any Godzillas. Every Godzilla toy that ever comes out, there's a toy that needs to be reimagined. Why can't Godzilla have joints? Why? Why can't he? Why does it have to be a 2-ton lump of plastic with 2 legs and 2 arms? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely go by the movie mythos. Man in costume does not move that much. But in the comics, I mean, there's no holds barred with
In the new
Godzilla.
movies, he moves. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it. The guy who played Kick-Ass was running from him the whole time. But
I
I'm
just
saying,
think
why
that's
can't you do
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Why can't I have an articulated tail that wraps around instead of one joint that turns it this way or that way? You know what I mean?
Or if you're lucky too.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. But I'm saying these are that's a toy that needs to be reimagined. Why is it that it just has to be this specific toy that's been made 8,000 times and it still has the same 5 or 6 joints
Right.
in it? You know,
Mhm.
I don't understand that. I've never understood that. And I love Godzilla. I do. I really do. He's one of the, he's an iconic film character. God, a guy in a suit is an iconic film character, but he is an iconic film character. There is no Godzilla toys that I would ever own. Not one.
Well, I do own some, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I know
Definitely.
you own some. I'm saying me. You're going to get my
Yes,
dollar.
fair enough.
You're going to have to,
I agree, 100%.
I'm just saying I would love to see, like Marvel does with their Legends line. Okay, their articulation is fantastic. The price point's high. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
But you can't apply that to Centurions. You can't apply that to Sectars and put it on the peg. I already know you're going to zap me from $15 to $20 because that's what you're going to zap me for if I buy a Black Series, if I buy a Legend Series.
Yes.
So what?
Yeah, and the thing is, they appeal to nostalgia and the geek to try to squeeze out $10 more. Is that $10 really important to keep it out of a Walmart?
Yeah, well, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you on that.
Would you rather just sell 1,000 for $10 more, or 1,000,000 you can't even keep on the shelves? And it doesn't need a cartoon right off the bat or a comic book. Just make it fantastic. Something that a kid will look at it and instantly be transported away like we were.
Well, that's the thing. I would love to see the risks from toy companies that were taken in the 80s taken today. That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. We're talking about toys that we want. I'd love to see a reimagining of Visionaries. I'd love to. And that does not need anything other than remake those molds, maybe sharpen them up a little bit or whatever.
Unfortunately, kids are too savvy to that. I mean, to us, hologram technology was a new
Oh no,
thing.
I think you could have. You don't need to do the holograms. Make them molds on the front of their chests. Make them. They don't need to be.
Give it lights and sound.
Well,
Kids
something.
still
What?
love
Yeah,
that.
whatever you want to do. But I'm saying, give it something that separates it from that old set. You know what I mean? When you did the 25th anniversary Joes, which flew off the freaking shelves, okay? Let's be perfectly honest here. So anybody tells me that there's no market for G.I. Joe, you're wrong.
That I want to get into as well.
That you're wrong. There's no market for bad G.I. Joe. So when you give me a Dwayne The Rock Johnson figure with a Snake Eyes tattoo, nobody bought it. You know why? Because it's bullshit. Okay? But if you give... It's fucking bullshit. One has nothing to do with the other. Okay? But if you give me a super articulated Snake Eyes 2, guess what? I bought that.
You know
what
what?
I mean?
I even bought the
Sorry.
Sigma 6 line.
I did
They
too,
were
because
super
they were great
articulated.
toys. They were nice toys.
And they were
And they came with a
re-imaged-
locker.
Right. And they were reimagining of the original, but on point enough that it was, I mean, I don't think I got into the cartoon till later.
No.
And by then it was over.
Yeah, it was... Yeah.
But I didn't mind it. And the thing, excuse me, I think it's a travesty nowadays that we don't have a G.I. Joe on the shelf.
I agree.
We're lucky to get some generic toy that would have been at
Action
the
Force.
Woolworth when we were kids.
Yes, Action Force.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a toy line that proved. You mean to? I would love for someone right now from Hasbro to tell me that the 25th anniversary GOs didn't sell well.
And here's
but
the
what's
thing.
even worse is the 50th anniversary line that came out no more than like 2 years
We're
later.
awesome, but they
We're awesome, but we're
burned
only
through
sold at
quick.
we're only sold at Toys R Us.
Yes.
Why weren't they sold at Walmart
Now,
or Target?
here's the messed up thing. They still produce 20, if not more, figures a year.
Yeah, the
And
Collectors
they're
Club.
JoeCon exclusives. Why don't you put those on the shelf? Okay, at the moment, to get the money that you're asking,
You're
you are making niche characters. But if you were to just start from basics and release the original characters, you got the molds laying around.
Will you have the molds to do anything you want, Link?
Are they waiting for this new movie that they're prophesizing will come? I mean...
To me, they're wasting an opportunity with G.I. Joe because of the way the movies are currently structured. You have superheroes and you have all these different types of things. If this is done correctly, you could do a G.I. Joe film and have it feel like a comic book movie, because that's what Joe was when he started. Okay, it was a comic book before the toy line came out, whatever, plus or minus a couple months, whatever it was.
Yes.
But you could do this the same way. And if you look at the G.I. Joe and Cobra characters, they are heroes and villains, superheroes, supervillains. Serpentor is a supervillain.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he is
Oh,
a
yeah.
supervillain. Okay, he dresses all in gold and has snakes that come off of him. He's a goddamn supervillain. Okay, Snake Eyes is a superhero. He's the super commando ninja / whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a
He's
superhero.
MacGuffin warrior. He's anything
yes,
you need.
Yes. And these guys, it could be done and done well.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the money, in my opinion, on both of those films really wasn't thrown where it should have been. You know what I mean? And
True.
I think the other problem with G.I. Joe that nobody wants to talk about, it's hard to make everyone's favorite character the focal point of the film because he can't talk.
It's true.
You line up 100 Joe fans right now. Who's your favorite Joe?
Snake Eyes.
All right.
But the thing is,
It's going to be 60 guys who say Snake Eyes.
even if you look at the animated series we grew up on, look at how many episodes he's actually in.
Yeah, because he doesn't talk.
Exactly. I
So it's
he's
hard
just
to
running in the background.
Well, that's what I'm
with
saying.
a
He's hard.
generic
He's
Joe
hard to
rifle.
make.
Yeah.
A central point of the story. But there are so many other great characters. You've completely abandoned Shipwreck in 2 films.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's a fan favorite. I mean, he is a fan favorite. You've completely
Hell,
abandoned.
throw bazooka,
Well, yeah,
quick
but-
kick.
Well, you had Alpine. There's a lot of. Great,
I think that would be charming within itself. If you're like, well, I'm a mountaineer, but I'm on this mission.
Mm-hmm.
That adds humor. I mean,
it's like putting Snow Job on an island.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But yet again, that proved a point. Those figures came out. You put them in the same packaging that you put in the 80s. Okay, same thing. Everything was there.
It's like I missed out on some really great figures because they got lumped into the movie line cards. They were 25th anniversary, like Blowtorch and stuff that I didn't even know existed because I walked right by them in the store. I hate to say that, but
I did too.
I mean, this was still the time that it wasn't Cobra Commander, it was Rex.
Yeah, well.
That kind of lame.
But I mean, there's like a Jungle Viper that has like this really cool thing that comes off of him, and you know what I mean. It's like a ghillie suit, but it's not really. But
and he has a gas mask.
yeah. Same thing. I'll probably walked right by it. You know what I mean? Just whatever.
But they did airtight Blowtorch in the 25th style.
There's even a tunnel rat, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
a tunnel rat.
So, but yet again, so you tell me those toys didn't sell? I want somebody to tell me those toys didn't sell, or they didn't sell well enough for
How
Target
about
and
this?
Walmart.
When the movie came out, I was for sure I was going to get stopped every 5 minutes because of my tattoo.
Yeah.
It happened once in the 10 plus years I've had it.
There are so many great toys from the 80s that are begging for remakes,
Yes.
begging for freaking updating. And we've only hit on a few of them. Of course, we ended up still going back to G.I. Joe because we can't help ourselves.
Because it was the prototypical,
cornerstone.
yes.
It was the cornerstone. You know what I mean? But, we mentioned some tonight. We may revisit this again.
Oh, definitely.
We'll probably get on a soapbox about Silverhawks. What a piece of shit that original set was and how great it would be to have.
Or how
another
cool
toy.
Tiger Sharks would have been if it was left to grow.
Yes. Or Galaxy Rangers, a toy line that never even made it to the States. If you don't know what we're talking about, that's the whole point.
Yes.
Jason the Wheeled Warriors. That was another line that could be reimagined. And the Tonka line. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's
so many.
There's so many of them. There's so many of 'em.
imitators of that now.
Yeah,
They don't have
absolutely.
the title of anything under it, but hey, here's a Hot Wheels car that you can slap some stuff on.
Which was Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Yes.
Which we didn't have Jace, but whatever. But this is our point. This is something I'd really like to hear. We got close to 40 subscribers now, correct? I think.
Close, yeah.
Close.
Which thank you all for
But
that.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being roommates.
Laundry
Tell us,
roommates.
tell us what you guys think. Tell us, is there a toy line? Even it doesn't always have to be from the 80s. If you got something that you loved in the 90s, I got toy lines I loved in the 90s.
Oh yeah. That was when they last took chances. Definitely.
Exo Squad. It's a great line. It was a great set of
I
toys.
really don't want to get into anything
Anyway.
else. But the Edgar Rice Burroughs toy line.
Yes.
Who would have
Yes.
thunk? But they weren't that great. But they took a chance.
They took a chance.
But anyway.
But yeah, give us your input. If you want us to do something, listen, we love researching this stuff.
We do.
We love looking into it. So if there's something you don't know about that you want us to do, let us know.
Yeah.
If and if you like what you're watching, you're not a subscriber, what's wrong with you? Be
Please
a subscriber. And tell us your input. We really want it. We mean it. We really would like anything, that you got out there. Okay? So,
Keep being rad.
stay dorky.
We'll catch you next time.